got like 4 seconds. Get that one going. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. This is the second special meeting for the discussion on the 5-year plan, or maybe the 10-year plan, and the discussion of the mid-year budget review. So we can start with the clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Ms. Barrow?
Here.
Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Absolutely here. Thank you, ma'am. So we'll hold off on the upcoming events. Where did you guys want to start? The 5 years, or did you want to start with the mid-year budget review? We didn't start in order the last time, so I'm asking you.
did the budget.
Are you happy with that?
finalized the
With
budget.
no more discussion on that. We voted on it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Why did
did
it
you-
go back on the agenda?
did you vote to adopt it, though? And we have to re-advertise it now.
I thought we did yesterday.
I haven't done the minutes yet, I'm sorry.
Day before yesterday.
Did we not? Did we
I
vote to
thought we
adopt it?
voted on the budget adjustment.
Well, let's go ahead and get it done and vote on it again. You want
Just
to,
in case you
to be
haven't.
sure?
Well, you voted,
I'm,
so you voted to take the 110 from ARPA to.
Yeah, I
Make
believe
the
we
Okay.
voted.
To
on
balance
it.
it, right?
I'm good to
right?
re-advertise and
So you can
we have to
advertise it.
re-advertise it like we do the original
You,
budget.
you
Okay.
may wanna reread it and make sure that the motion included the adoption of the budget and not just where to pull the money.
But it
from.
was said,
That's-
it was said.
I don't know the adoption was.
I don't think we adopted it.
I don't
We
know
didn't
that
do the
I
adopt.
said
I don't
that.
remember the adoption. I know they were talking about taking money from ARPA, but not the adoption.
Yeah, we didn't do the adoption.
Mm-mm.
That's why
So I'll
it's
make a
still-
motion, we adopted.
So we have a motion on the floor to adopt the budget as written. A second? Do we have a second?
Second,
We have a second. You call the roll, please.
Ms. Barrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chappell?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
yes.
Ms. Gibson?
yes.
And Mayor Kelly?
Yes. All right, let's move on to the next item, which will be the discussion of the 5-year or the 10-year or whatever year plan we're gonna have moving forward in the future. Whoever would like to open the floor, they may. Mr. Sumlin, you had a lot of information you wanted to talk about, right?
I sent that information out as requested.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you guys, I spent some time on the phone with Tony yesterday after he put this together.
Yep.
And I've kind of moved some numbers around and I've recreated a spreadsheet. Tony, you wanna tell them what you did? I mean, does everybody know what your color marks are for?
I gave him a
Yeah,
ledger.
we got the
Yeah, I'll
key.
actually give them a ledger on what the recommendations were.
Have you seen Ms. Galbraith's changes that she's proposing?
I tried to, I tried to,
I gave it to him last
La-
night.
yeah, look
over
it.
today, So, and really, it's not, it's pretty much what he's already talked about,
Yep.
but I made it large so that our old eyes can see it.
Thank you.
Ms. Galbraith, when you get there, I have one to point out on it though, when I
Okay.
reviewed. The repair 32 poor condition fire hydrants that you've got on there.
Yes, sir?
It's just a typo. It was 8,000 instead of 80.
I put 80,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, top of the second page.
Well,
78,000 savings.
trying to give you a little more money there.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, go ahead.
Do you wanna go, Tony, or you want me to cover this?
Go ahead. You can go review your sheet. That's fine.
So basically, everything that Tony said that he wanted done immediately, I have moved over into the ARPA column. I can go through them one by one so that everybody in the audience knows what we're referring to. Obviously, the brown ones I struck through on our sheet. But there was a few items that he did not pull over to do immediately that I did. So, if it's okay with you guys, I'll kind of start at the top.
Go for it.
So the new truck, we already approved that yesterday, or Monday. Road repairs, he felt like he could move that out over the next 10 years, so I just removed it from the 2024 column. He felt like he really needed the flatbed truck, so I moved that over into current year spending ARPA funds on it. The 19,000 for trench utilities street-wide, he felt like he needed right away. I moved that into the ARPA column. He removed the 1993 chipper, thinking that it would probably not pay for itself for 10 plus years.
So I have a question about the chipper.
Okay.
The one that you have now, what is its, condition?
We're gonna declare it a surplus and sell it.
Okay,
Basically what I did was, we sat down with the mechanic and, the street supervisor, we sat down and tried to crunch the numbers and figure the things. And what we're feeling is that I can literally haul the debris in a trash truck on our average amount of chipping that we do a year. I could probably haul the debris in a trash truck, and it's gonna take me a little over 10 years to accumulate that much expenditure.
okay, so the
So-
ROI just isn't there.
Yeah, so it's gonna be faster for us just to pick it up, put it in the trash truck and dispose of it and remove it than it would be to pay for the service, the maintenance of a chipper, anything that we have, and that upfront cost of a chipper.
Okay, that answers my question, okay.
And like I said, we're just gonna come back with a list of vehicles and equipment that we're gonna declare surplus that we can send to auction.
Okay,
He felt certain that he needed the roller. I've moved that into the ARPA column. The patch trailer, I moved that forward. He actually had that in 2026, but I moved that forward. The engineering for the permitting and gravel, he thought that he could push that off potentially. But I think that's something that when this pier goes in, we're going to have that. So I bumped that and the next year's budget forward. Table, benches, sunshades, security lighting, that also was not projected to be needed immediately. However, I was thinking that with the vandalism we're having in the parks, it might be a good idea to go ahead and put some lighting out there. You took the mower out, so I have stricken that. Repairing the driveways, I've moved that into the ARPA column. That you see there in yellow for the improvement of the stormwater drainage. Basically what I did is I took the balance of everything else that he wanted, and that was the difference of the ARPA funds, so I plugged that number into that category. Obviously, we can move that wherever everybody feels like we should, but that's where I threw it, because I thought that stormwater was probably our biggest concern in the city. The next item under the ARPA column is the 35,000 for preventing infiltration and inflow. The next line item is maintaining.
Can I touch on that one just real
Yes,
quick?
sir.
Okay, so with this one, I want to say is the 35,000 we got for the manholes and the inflow. I got P14 there, and I was hoping we were going to approve this way because I have capital money in my budget right now to go out and make this repair. But when we approve this 35,000, if I take the ARPA money and make this repair to this lift station, then that's going to free up the capital money in my budget in case anything happens for the rest of the year.
so if you have a water main break or.
If I spend that 35,000 out of my budget right now, then I'm gonna have to come back to you because I'm gonna be over budget if anything else happens till October.
Which it
This
will.
frees up his
Right.
budget.
That makes sense.
The next line item is maintain lines in the remote areas. Where is that one?
The sewer trailer and truck.
Okay, so I moved it, obviously, the 50,000 from 2026 forward, as you did. The next line item is the sewer camera trailer for 125. The pumps, replacing the pumps that are 40 years old for 30,000. He has pointed out my mistake on the next line item for the hydrants. That should be 8,000 and not 80. The next line item is to replace the 23 valves that are failed.
Yeah, that's real important.
The next 20,000 is to replace the fire hydrants. 85,000 for the utility truck and trailer that he needs. The 15,000 for the tire mounting equipment. And then 5,000 for the codification of the ordinances and 5,000 for the envelope machine. So I would then suggest that we take the additional 72,000.
Put it in this repairs.
Yes, ma'am. Put it back into the stormwater repairs. And then hopefully the balance of that stormwater repair will be able to help get grants to fund. And then if you look at the bottom of the 2024 budget, I made a couple of notes. Tony talked to somebody yesterday about, if you'll remember, I requested that we talk to somebody about the $500,000 for the transmitters, if we could finance that. And that can definitely be an easy financed item at 5.14% over 5 years, so about $117,000 a year. The fire truck, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. I am proposing that we ask Mayor Kelly to write the grant, hope that we get $50,000 for the truck, and allocate an additional $50,000 to purchase the engine.
That actually would be a good plan. The only thing is, we won't get the 50,000 until after the second, old truck is sold.
Fair enough.
And, once we order the engine, we can't really not have the other engine out of service until the new one arrives. So we may have to float that $100,000 until that other engine sells. If we let it go for 50,000, it will sell. Unless it fails its pump test between now and delivery day, then it's only worth about 6,000.
Okay.
It's a gamble we gotta
So
take.
It's a gamble we
worst case
take.
scenario, we budget 100,000 and be extra conservative.
Right.
We just say.
So
okay,
what you're
we-
saying is you would go for the match if we could get a grant?
Absolutely, and you know, I don't normally, you know, that's not how I do my personal money, but with this specific case, we can find that money. There's gotta be a way to find it, and to be able to match and get 75% of a $400,000 fire truck, we'd be stupid not to try to get the grant. And if we don't get it, we're not out anything, right? Just a little bit of your time.
So after our meeting the other day, I talked to Chief Patterson. If something happens between now and delivery day, and we don't have the 100,000, he said he's willing to, the volunteer's gonna pay for it. The only thing is the city won't own the vehicle. That's the contingent. Is that fair enough? That if we get to the day that comes to be delivered and we don't have the 100,000, because we still have to pay out for the grants when they get for LMSs delivered. They're not all even delivered
We're
yet.
still looking at
Well,
3
we-
years out though.
By that time, the
We should have some
FRS
ad
money
valorem
should be
tax.
freed up, and we should be able to
Yeah.
pull
Right.
money from the savings if we
Yep,
had
yep,
to.
yep. But I wanted to be upfront and clear with everybody that that is an option if we can't do it.
Fair.
Okay.
I pulled the 60,000 for the police cars only because we purchased 2. And Chief Hutto, I wanted to tell you that I spoke with Elizabeth Moore, and her husband has written a couple of grants for the city of Panama City for police vehicles. I'm wondering and hoping if maybe we could have a conversation with him
Art Smith.
about how he's getting that grant money. We talked a little bit about salaries. I don't know what we need. So I plugged $100,000 in to increase salaries, add somebody in the public works department. This may or may not be enough. The potential for ad valorem, we think, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 850, so this would still put us in a deficit for this of about 400, but I'm hoping that we should be able to find grant money to do a lot of these capital improvement projects. I did speak with Elizabeth Moore about that, and she said that there's obviously grant money for capital assets, but that when you're looking at money for capital improvement plans, oftentimes that's put in to stimulate the economy, so there's more grant funding available for it. So
So the
that's
one
why I chose, when I did this, to pull some of the capital assets forward and spend the ARPA money on
Get
that.
it going.
So when we are looking at next year's budget, we're gonna have to budget in that grant writer and make sure we have the money to pay that grant writer to get these grants started. I mean, we can't use it for the ARPA. I mean, we could, I guess, right? Could we use,
Well, I've done some research on the ARPA money, and, I'll read you guys this portion that I have pulled out that I think applies to what we're talking about. Because of the way we chose to take the money as revenue replacement, spending funds in the revenue replacement category allows a local government to undertake a wide array of potential expenditures, including within this covering the salaries, fringe benefits of local government, park improvement plans, purchasing of equipment and supplies for local government operations. So I think that covers everything that we're talking about moving into ARPA funding.
I think it looks amazing.
Mr. Summerlin, are you happy with what you're looking at here? Because the bulk of this is you.
So based off of these numbers, we're still short 72,000 though. For the
Well,
ARPA,
Unless we go ahead and plug it into,
if we just put it into the
unless we
stormwater.
plug it into the, and it appears to me from Tony's projections, that's where you really think we need the money immediately. So I would suggest that instead of 105,431, we just add 72,000 to that number.
And I also had a conversation with Ms. Moore. What I've proposed to her is looking at the stormwater master plan that we have and the projects that we got done. Had the meeting discussion with her that what we're planning on doing is we're gonna take each one of these. There's obviously, I've told her there's obviously 4 or 5 of those that we're just not physically gonna be able to do. They're $1 million or $500,000 projects. Those are the ones that we're gonna aggressively try to pursue grant funding for, because grants are easier to get for $1 million plus projects than $100,000 projects. So we're gonna focus our efforts onto those big ones, especially like Lake Drive corridor, that's $1 million project. But we're gonna take the other ones, which are pretty much all the ones that are below $200,000, and we're gonna start with the first one, and I'm gonna get a crew together, and we're gonna attack that project the best at everything that we can do city resource wise. We're gonna get it done to where we feel that we're confident to bring the engineer in to look at it. Then we will probably have to pay the engineer a small fee to come assess what we've done, probably bring out a survey company to come shoot grades on what we've done, and then take her recommendation, if there is any, to perform what's needed to close out that project.
And either contracted or bid it out.
Correct.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So, can we not do it as a city-wide stormwater project and make it one project?
Well, we'll probably have to, like, when we go for grants, we'll group those 4 together as a citywide improvement project for all those areas.
Okay.
But the other ones are just gonna be, I mean, the way she's got them broke them down, we could group them all together, but we kind of went with how she focused them.
So I think that the advantage of grouping them together
Yes.
is that if we group them together, you
One-
can also use your labor
man-
as
Yes,
a
Yes,
25%.
yeah, that's correct,
Mm-hmm.
or donate time, absolutely.
Yes.
You need to do
Well,
all of
and like I
them
said,
at one.
the big ones, there is parts of those that we'll be able to do and match and help and do. It's just, there's a lot of like for instance, North Lakewood, we are physically not capable of digging 8 to 10 feet deep and stabilizing and going down the road. You know, but the restoration parts of those and everything we physically can do, which is more than 25%.
Which is exactly why I'm suggesting that we consider lumping them
Mm-hmm.
together, because then certainly the labor that we would provide would be 25% of the overall project.
And that's fine.
Just
So Tony,
a consideration.
the water issues with trying to get development, going down Tyndall, of getting that force main and that lift station that we need for Melindy. What are the possibilities of getting some sort of funding for that?
Well, that's, like I said, our engineer right now is working on the design incorporated with the Melindy Pond,
Okay.
so that we would at least have the design ready to know when we got the funding or where to go out to bid. We're applying for a grant for lift station to have no information.
Right.
She'll have the design and the concept of what it's gonna be. Then if we find a grant opportunity to apply that grant for it, we will. Or if we find a contractor that's willing to develop, that's going to put the infrastructure in to develop.
Correct.
That would be the best, but
Right.
based off of conversations I've had,
There's other contractors out there, and there's a lot of people doing things right now. I mean, Callaway's fixing to put in 5 huge apartment complex building across the street, so.
And he's eating the cost on all of it, Ms. Gibson. All of it.
well,
It's just, you know, like I said, we are gonna pursue getting a grant for it. I feel the city definitely needs that other lift station there for the growth and just for the capacity we're doing right now.
Yeah.
But we just, like I
So
said, we
Tony,
gotta find the funding.
let me ask you this. I've been thinking about this. When Elizabeth figured the water usage, she's figuring using Parkway Gardens, La Brisa, these existing, that were existing. Now that Parkway's not being developed for
4
3,
years.
5, 10, however many years.
Correct, but you do have to understand that they already have reserve capacity.
Okay, so they are already reserved.
That
and
they
there's
were already,
no-
To build back
if
what
it
the
was a,
capacity
if it
was,
was a blanket piece of dirt and nothing ever built there,
it would
then
be.
it would be on the burden of that developer to impact us. But being that development already impacted the city
Right.
with what it has, we still have to guarantee them that capacity.
Okay, I wanted to double check that. It's unfortunate that we're holding reserve for them and they're not doing anything with
Right.
it. We've got people that wanna develop and we can't.
Well, you also have to understand that it depends on if the apartment complex on the right-hand side of the bridge comes on, that's gonna be a huge impact to our capacity also.
That's gonna be interesting too. I'm waiting for they should be putting out to bid, I think in July, for the, design of the bridge. As far as like exactly how the bridge is gonna be and exactly how much they're gonna be
Yeah,
using
we
that
were
land.
we were just told in a meeting that the bridge cost estimate's already almost 300 million.
But they're, from what they've told me, they've got 3 acres that is usable land there that would be usable. Now, whether or not they'd be able to develop it, I don't know.
Right.
So anyway,
So if everybody's okay, are you guys okay with this? Do you have any other discussion?
Looks like it's back pretty much on the ARPA trail, you know, and I'm happy with that.
Well, as long as Tony's happy, that's all I care about. As long as he's good with every bit of it.
Yeah.
so,
I'm fine with it. I mean, it's gonna put a lot of work on us. It's a lot of stuff. I mean, just cause it's numbers on paper right now, I mean, there's a lot of acquiring this equipment, waiting a year plus to get it. I will tell you, we talked to the mayor, anything that we did talk to the bank said they would finance the trash truck at 4.5%.
They told me yesterday 4.5.
So, I mean,
We can
that's-
have it today.
Yeah, so that's my recommendation is we still let the trash truck make the payment on the truck and we move on. I talked to the gentleman on that truck again, we're probably not gonna see it till February, March, even later, depends on when it gets in production. But that's gonna be my biggest thing is right now is ordering this equipment and then finding out how long it's gonna take to get it. And then getting the manpower, which we have a good crew right now to get started. But this will free up the funds to get things moving fast.
We just need to get this money
Yeah.
right
Locked
on
down.
this.
You,
Yeah.
Ms. Galbraith, council, you said in here you wanted to put 100,000 for raises. Why would we not just put that in for extra manpower? Is there a
Well, it's-
I
reason
did
why?
not indicate raises, I just said
Oh.
for extra,
Yeah, it's just
extra money
salary.
for
Okay, I
salaries,
misunderstood.
however we need it.
Yeah, because we don't have enough people now. I stand and I watch you guys struggling in that hole the other day.
Well, the problem is
How many
guys,
do we need to hire, Tony?
well, I mean, like I said, all I'm asking for is the one that I lost, as far as the position I lost about a year and a half ago,
Okay.
to get that back. But if I could get the 3 bodies that I don't have currently,
It'd be more than 100 grand though.
well, but see, the 3 bodies I have currently are budgeted. They're just not budgeted enough salary to get somebody.
Oh,
So
oh,
we
I got
would
you.
need-
I got
we
you.
would
So you
need a
need a little
salary
taste more on
increase.
there to add to it.
Right. I mean,
So
'cause
how much more would we have to add?
I need to look at what
10,000
the
a
current,
budget each item?
we have to just crunch those numbers when we get to the budget part of it.
Okay, all right. I'm
So-
with Ms. Galbraith then.
and so our next year's budget, we're gonna be starting
In
soon, June. But you need to get these guys hired now.
Well, I'm trying. Like I said, I'm 3 positions down.
I know.
The interviews that I've had here lately just aren't promising.
Okay.
I mean,
But
the
you need-
guys that
But
are
if you-
educated and got the equipment, I mean, we gotta feel these guys we got out here have CDLs and license and common sense and want to work and come to work every day. And, you know, when we bring in applications and there's 6 jobs this year,
They're not wanting to work because they're not getting paid enough, and that's where we need to
So
put the
that's
money
what
in there.
my
to
question
add
to you
into
is,
it.
right now, at this minute, if we were to give you an extra $72,000 to raise salaries to get these people hired and get the quality people that we need and to look at adjusting, does that make sense to do it right now so that we can get these people on board and raise the salaries in a way that we can get
well,
get demand?
I understand that. The problem with that is that 72,000 in this money,
Won't be.
we gotta make sure next year's budget's gonna be able to continue it.
So I think that we wait until we start the budget
correct.
process and look at
And in
salaries across
June,
the
make,
board.
right.
Um,
Okay. I want you to get fully staffed and
Because I
get
think
the
the
guys
problem's
that
across
you
the board,
need.
not just in public works.
Right.
Well, we're agreeing now to have you do more, we're about to agree that you're gonna do a lot of the work that we would have subbed out. And for that, you will need the manpower. And there's another thing I'd like to ask you. In the pipes and plumbing in this document, does that include the discharge overflow pipe we talked about yesterday on Brennan Place?
No.
Okay. How much to change that out?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to get a contractor to look at it.
That's a job for somebody on the outside.
I feel we can assist. I think it's gonna be a little bit more out of our knowledge realm,
Okay.
just because of the diameter and the size.
What was the P number on that lift station?
P14.
Okay, so council, so you're aware, P14, for some reason, when it was installed, there is a discharge pipe above the ground to the left of the gates walking into the property, and it's not on our property. And the person who owns the property wants it gone. So we have to spend that money to do whatever it is we gotta do to move that pipe off of this person's property.
Where's this
And
at? The one down in
Brennan
the?
Place,
Oh.
P14. You know what I'm talking about in the
Yeah,
curve
I
right there?
know exactly what you're
The
talking
Yeah,
about.
pipe is an odd looking pipe.
It all goes back to the little piece of property sitting in front of the gates that we don't own.
Right. Would it be better to own that piece of property? Would it be better to buy the piece of property if it would be available?
And like I said, I mean, I feel confident in my manpower and my staff. The problem we have there is that station can only be turned off for about 40 minutes.
And then you got a problem.
And they're wanting to take this pipe, disconnect it, because you have to shut the station down. Take this pipe, disconnect it, cap it, relocate it, but then it has to be reinstalled somewhere because it can't go away in 40 minutes.
So should we think about buying, how much land is it?
It's like 2 square feet.
Is it really?
I don't know.
It's very
Probably.
minimal. I mean, it's a conversation that we can entertain to ask him what he wants for just that cube of dirt.
Isn't
He'll
this the
probably
piece of
trade you.
property he asked to
He wanted to
swap?
swap.
How, that's the piece he wants, what does he want to swap for?
We have 10 foot in the middle. We have 10 foot just beside the road that runs from the street all the way back across
Now,
3
he
miles.
told me he didn't want to swap.
Well, he said it didn't matter now. He
Well,
didn't.
we got stuff in the ground under there is the
Now,
reason
this
why.
red
was
pipe's
the-
really important piece of
Well,
pipe.
the what's in the ground
I don't
too is
understand why it's
important
like
for
it
us to
is.
be able to
But
get
if
to
we
and
swap
maintain.
and we just have the easement, what's the difference? We still be able to get to it. I mean,
I don't even know if he'll entertain that now or not. I'm just saying. I mean, it's
He's gone for a little bit.
But that
He's not
being
gonna-
said, I mean,
He's gone
if
for a
it's
month.
cheaper to
He's on
give the
cruise.
guy $10,000 and then spend 40 to replace it, I'd rather give him the 10,000.
well,
And then own the pipe.
he did say in the meeting I had with him that whatever the surveying and legal fees and documents that were there, is that he would pay for the cost of those fees to transfer to do the paperwork.
But he wouldn't entertain just selling it. He wants to
I did
swap.
not ask him to
Okay.
purchase this property. I didn't want to.
I don't know if I want to.
I didn't want to go down that road to get with another offer or something.
Okay.
I just made an effort to try
And he's
why,
gone right
why
now,
he's
isn't
gone. I tried to make the effort of us digging down there to try to see if we could physically do it, and then when we exposed exactly what it was.
Okay. So it's a bigger job than it looks like. All right.
Okay, so
I think that deserves a kind of, like you said, a cost analysis.
It
Is
does.
it worth it to just replace the pipe, or let's
Pay him.
negotiate?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Because it looks like when you look at it, when Mr. Summerlin took me over to look at it, it looks like it's supposed to be there. I mean, it does. It just happens to be the chain link is on the other side of the pipe, but it looks like it was made that way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how the devil it got on somebody else's land, I'm not really sure, but it's something he said to me he wants it addressed. So we don't have a choice. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna back up to the motion that was made a couple of days ago about the new truck. We made a motion to purchase the truck, so now I would like to make a second motion to,
Trash truck.
have Mayor Kelly reach out to the bank and initiate the paperwork to.
Yes, ma'am. I
Take
met
out
with
the
him
loan
yesterday,
on the truck.
and for the citizens and the council's edification, the bank manager we currently have does not have the authority to make major decisions. So it takes about 2 or 3 days to get it worked out. Yesterday I talked with the corporate office person that approves it, and she told me that if you agreed on it today, that they can make that money available today for Mr. Summerlin. What did you say you wanted? 200,000, or was it 210? 200 at 4.5% is what she said.
I second the motion.
Thank you.
Motion's made and seconded. You want to call a roll?
Ms. Burrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes. Thank you,
Okay.
council.
Then I would like to make a revision to the paper that I just gave you to change the, 80,000 to 8,000.
Yep.
And to change the 105,431.58 in stormwater drainage improvements to, include the 72,000 that I made an error on.
Okay,
So that number should be 177,431.58.
fair enough.
And then I would like to make a motion to approve this as presented today for the 5-year
With the
plan.
changes. Yep.
With the changes, to include how we're planning to spend the balance of the ARPA funds.
Okay.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, call a roll, please.
Ms. Morrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes. Any other business?
I have a question. After the conversation that we had last night about the Easter egg hunt, I just want to ask, going forward, is there any reason why we can't make them all city events?
That's a good
But
question,
if we're
but
getting donated money regardless,
Then it has to go through the city as donated money and go through all that.
what I was gonna ask
We've
you
already
today was,
discussed
how would
all
you
that.
feel about letting Mr. Chappell, if available, use the city's facilities for his events, his pancakes and all this kind of stuff, and not necessarily force him to use the lodge or the fire station or whatever he needs? It seems to me it's sort of an unusual situation because the city's not accepting the donations, their group is accepting the donations.
and I think that my personal opinion is that we should change it and it should be a city event. We should host it as a city, and if we request donations from the community, it then rolls through the city. They still get their deductible expense, and we don't have to worry about him using other areas.
How do you feel about that, Mr. Chappell?
Well, the only thing is, when you're making a city event, and then of course, we need money to be a sponsor for it. And, as far as the budget goes, I don't think we really have enough money in the budget to do city projects as such.
Okay.
And,
But see, I think what she's saying, and I could be wrong, the donation chain would be that if a person wanted to buy something for your Easter egg hunt, they could go into the Parks Department and you could spend it through Mr. Sumlin if the city sponsored it through the Parks Department for an entertainment.
So
Or-
if we got a check, let's say from Fulcrum, and they wrote $1,000 check and they put it in for the Easter egg or for Christmas.
Or for whatever, we can
or
maintain
whatever,
that.
and it goes in there. And in the future, we've talked about this, is like with the sports complex, if we do events over at the sports complex, we can charge as long as that money goes into the parks fund and we put that back into the park fund.
I think
For
it creates
events.
less confusion for the
I
community.
agree.
And every other municipality has
Does it
their
that
own
way.
events. I don't know why we don't follow suit. That would be my recommendation.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I comment? Pat Fosick, 1344 Stratford. You should almost have that memorized, Jamie.
I'm getting there.
I think it's a great idea, and one of the concerns that I've had, I don't remember if I posted on social media or not, is the liability. Because if this is a private event, as was represented, and it's being hosted at Memorial Park or wherever else, and something happens, again, what's the likelihood that a child is going to get injured at the Easter egg hunt? It's probably small. But if it does happen, it's going to be catastrophic with a child. You're never going to win that kind of injury claim. If it's a city event, then the city's insurance, number one, should cover it. Or number two, the city as a municipality has statutory defenses to that kind of thing. You know how we all hear you can't sue the government. In some respects, that's probably true. So I think it's better. It does seem to complicate things as far as the financing, putting it into the public or the Parks Department for the donations and whatever, that makes sense. But I think from a liability perspective, the city is much better off to say it is our event. And even with regard to getting donations, I think frankly, some of the donations would increase likely because it is city sponsored and it's an official event. So I think it's a great suggestion, Ms. Galbraith. Thank you.
I was under the impression that if we use city property, the city is, since it's a Memorial Park, doesn't our insurance cover anybody that goes on that park?
Should.
it covers the city. It wouldn't cover me. Sorry.
I think
Your
mainly
time
it
is up,
just,
ma'am. Hold on a second.
I think mainly it just stops confusion
Right.
about whose event it is.
Right.
That's my concern.
Ma'am, you only get 1 3-minute burst. You
I don't think I took 3 minutes.
You don't get 2 turns out of it. It's 1 turn. Thank you, ma'am. What do you want to do, Mom?
Well, yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Now, last year's, Easter egg hunt was at, Under the Oaks. And I had to buy insurance, it was $248 for a 6-hour event. And, I paid for that to go ahead and have insurance, $1 million insurance policy. But that was because it wasn't city property. It was
Well,
county
it is
property.
city property because we've leased it out. We technically, when I talked to
We still
Parks,
own.
when I talked to Parks and Rec, he's like, that is your side to do with whatever you want.
On the left side.
On the left side, I can't remember. Pearl,
Coral Bean Park.
Yeah, Coral Bean. So, I mean, that was my understanding, is that it was under city property, that we had the ability to do whatever we wanted with that property. We could dig a garbage pit in there if we wanted to.
Well, I know I've kind of just thrown this out here, and I certainly don't intend for us to
Yeah.
make a decision today. I just wanted to put it on the table. I would like for us all to consider it, maybe look at the legalities behind doing city events. What does that look like for insurance? And then maybe put it on an agenda and vote on it at a
We need
later
to
time.
talk to Mr. Sloan.
In the past, we always sponsored the events, Mr. Chappell. The city sponsored them all. We would do an annual over at the sports complex. We would have vendors come in. They would all answer to the city. They would put down their information with the clerk at the time, whoever it was. It was never a private person or organization. And if there was never any conversation about it not being legal or anything like that. It was just out of the goodness of a person's heart that they did the work. So I think I'm tempted to ask to get 2 opinions on the same question so that I get an accurate answer. But I feel like, one, we shouldn't stop doing the events no matter who sponsors them.
Agreed.
Whether it's you, if people want to say derogatory things on social media, I'm sorry that they did that. And that doesn't change the fact that we should move forward, and obviously the council agrees with that too. Because our it's not for making money, it's for making the people of Parker happy. That's my feeling about it. When we do the tree lighting ceremony, technically it really was the city of Parker's tree lighting ceremony, but you guys organized it all and made the cookies and did whatever you did, and we used our resources. As far as liability is concerned, I think if a child falls down and bashes its head on the concrete at any park, anybody's liable. I think when you get sued, you just get sued, and they will sue everybody. So I'm sorry you had to buy that insurance for Under the Oaks, but what she just said, that is a public park. And I don't know if that falls under the county's insurance or ours, but my instinct tells me it's our insurance for the left side. And on the right side where the jogging track is, that's the county's insurance, right? So, council, would you like me to get a legal opinion? But my personal self feels like we should control, it should be the city of Parker Easter egg hunt. It should be the city of Parker tree lighting ceremony, and the people that come help are the people that assist are volunteering to help the city do the event. That's what my heart tells me it should be. But we do not want to stop doing it because people love doing that. They love going to fish fries. When we did Fun Day over at the sports complex, we had hundreds of people, car shows, everything we did before the hurricane, years before the hurricane. So if you want to do what Ms. Galbert says, I think we should probably think about all of this. I'll get a legal opinion and then put it on the agenda to vote on it, and 2 or 3 meetings down the road. Now what about Memorial Day?
Yeah,
It's important we know we're going to do this, right?
yeah. Pigs ordering a pig today, so, yeah, that's a.
If Sloan says we can't do a private event, then we can move it to another venue, and then when we advertise it, we can advertise it for that venue. How do you feel about that?
Well, like I say, the only reason I picked up Memorial Park is
Because it's
of
Memorial Day. So could we say it's the city of Parker's Memorial Day pig roast, and you and I will buy the pig and roast it and everybody brings a covered dish. Because my vision is like we did in Donaldson Point. I don't know the lady's name, but her mom was 102, and they had that big party down there for her, and I thought that was fantastic. And everybody came. They brought covered dishes, and it was really, really nice. And I don't want us to lose that momentum from doing those things. So, 2 or 3 meetings, we'll talk about it and vote on it. What do you think?
I would like for it to be put on the agenda, yes.
Okay.
On the 16th.
You got room?
Sure.
Okay. It won't take 5
Pack a
minutes.
lunch.
Okay. Then that way it'll be approved on one way or the other for Memorial Park on the 16th. If that's okay.
It's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's all I have.
It is not, I mean, I try to do some of the organizations of these parties, but it's really the citizens of Parker that are volunteering their help, volunteering. They didn't actually volunteer money for the Easter egg hunt, but they volunteered candy.
Yep.
They volunteered eggs.
Which is all you really wanted.
And like I say, we got 2,500 eggs next year.
And you know, and that's great. And because we couldn't do the Easter egg hunt, we were still able to donate all that to the kids for the program the teachers have over there.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh, she was so excited.
was she?
My whole back seat was full of candy.
Yeah.
And I said, I have these gift cards too. And so they use the candy for incentives at Parker Elementary, part of the SHIP program.
Right.
And
That's really
those,
good.
Those gift certificates, when the parents are participating in doing what they're supposed to do with their kids and doing events with the kids, then they give them incentives, and so they were using,
Yep.
they used those. But she was so grateful.
I have one question. If it's a city-sponsored event, will you have to have guys there?
Can we ask all these questions offline
Oh,
so that we just have all the answers when we
we
come back and
should.
vote on it?
The other good thing about it, Ron, if it's a city-sponsored events, we could put something in the budget for that, and you won't have to beg for or put it in your hand in your pocket constantly, because I know you do. And I read the letter and I know what was said, and that, so I probably think it would be better if the city went ahead and paid for it, but we do not want to stop. We do not want to stop. Okay, anybody else?
Are we gonna talk about the 5-year of what we're gonna move forward with in the future?
I thought
As
we-
far as how this is set up and what the priorities are for the next 5 years. I mean, are we, you know, this sheet that Stacy put together is fabulous, because we can look at what we were needing for the ARPA, but we also are looking at next year for 24. You know, we're different to 400 grand, so we're gonna have to make priorities.
I think we are too. I think we need to give Tony some grace and time to be
Yeah.
able to do that.
Yeah.
I think that we need to speak with Elizabeth and try to come up with what projects we're going to put together, what projects we're going to try to put in grant money. And I know that I'm still working on the policy, but I'm willing to help Tony get to where we wanna go with this, if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing if you want to do it.
You know, there's so much here, and we've got, you know, you've got the constant with the equipment and the capital, and everybody needs new cars and new equipment, and things break, and, you know, the infrastructure is doing what it's doing, and we have to make sure that this is all planned and taken care of. When are we gonna start our budget meeting?
June.
You set dates
We set
already?
dates.
Oh, we did, didn't we? Forgot.
Do you mind just sending those back out to us?
No, I can do it. I can put them on the upcoming events.
Ms. Barrow,
Thank
anything?
you.
You're good. Okay, council, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate your time. Mr. Sullivan, do you want to go with me to the bank?